You know, it's been a long time since I've reviewed an animated adaptation of a video game. Let's fix that. Anybody who's ever held a game controller should know who Mega Man is. With a vast library of games, he quickly became one of the biggest video game icons of all time. With a gameplay style that's often imitated, but never duplicated. And with a new game right around the corner, I thought it'd be a good time to take a look at his first animated series. Airing for 2 seasons from 1994 to 1995, the Blue Bombers' first cartoon series was brought to us by Ruby Spears. Yep, in their later years they tried to move away from copying Hanna-Barbera and did more stuff like this. Sadly though, this would be one of their last productions. And for an animated adaptation of a well-known property like Mega Man, they didn't do too bad. It even has a kick-ass theme song.
Super fighting robot, Mega Man, super fighting robot, Mega Man,
It's as intense as it is lazy. I didn't even think that was possible. In the first episode, we get some backstory that follows the story of the game pretty closely. Dr. Light and Dr. Wily are building robots to take on various tasks. Dr. Light wants to use them to help mankind, and Dr. Wily wants to use them for his own selfish reasons. So he steals some of Dr. Light's robots and uses them to try to take over the world. But Dr. Light armors up his most advanced robot and he becomes Mega Man. So he, his robot sister Roll, his robot dog Rush, and some other allies fight off Dr. Wily's robots on a weekly basis. I do really like the first episode and how it goes into Mega Man's origin. They even mention his original name.
Hi, my name's Rock.
I built this robot to handle household chores. Her name is Roll. You can think of her as your sister.
Hi, I'm Rock, your brother.
I'm Raw.
Oh, I get it. Rock, roll. It's a reference to jazz music. In this show, Mega Man is voiced by Ian James Corlett.
I gotta get back to the airport and stop Dr. Wily and Proto Man.
Here's a fun fact. In an ironic twist, he was also the voice of Dr. Wily in Captain N the Game Master.
I've been expecting you, Captain. And congratulations on nearly destroying my deadly androids.
Who apparently had a bad case of asthma in that show. But here, Wily is voiced by Scott McNeil, who, as usual, chews all of the scenery.
Nobody knows the genius I am. Even when I was a little boy, the other children never understood me. I never even had toys like the other kids. And now I'll build all the toys I want. Robot toys. And I'll control them.
I gotta admit that I do love his Wily voice. It's the one I always think of when he had dialogue in the games. Scott is also the voice of Mega Man's brother, Proto Man.
I must destroy Mega Man. He's my brother.
It should be known that Proto Man is a bit different in the games. He was a villain for a while, but he eventually broke off his ties with Wily and went off to do his own thing. But I kinda like this version of him. He's such a smug wise ass and it's great. He's always got an arrogant grin on his face and he even gives Wily the business sometimes.
I get such a charge out of this Proto. Yeah, whatever turns you on, Doc.
Wily and Proto Man are joined by Guts Man and Cut Man.
Cutman, let's crush her!
With pleasure, Gutsman.
They're the typical duo of goons every villain has. Kinda like Rocksteady and Bebop, but slightly more competent. And in each episode, they're joined by 1 to 3 of the other Robot Masters from the game, spanning from the first game all the way up to Mega Man 5. Though they didn't use all of the Robot Masters. I would have loved to have seen Skullman since he's one of my favorites. It's too bad they didn't incorporate the Mega Man 6 character since it was out at the time. Then again, we were spared the silliness that is Centaur Man. Somebody designed this. Well, I guess it could have been worse. They could have used Weaseletta and Terror Teddy. Shout out to the few of you who get that reference. Sadly, this show came out right before a lot of well-known characters of the series came out or became mainstays. It would have been nice to at least see Beat since he debuted in Mega Man 5. We didn't see too many of the regular enemies either. They only briefly showed a couple of them. They had a lot of Batantons though. Man, this show sure liked the Batantons. Also, Darkman appears in a few episodes. And he's not a robot master. He was a mini-boss in Mega Man 5, but I guess the creators of the show didn't know that. But he seems to fit in fine with the other robot masters. Just like in the games, Mega Man can take their powers and use them. However, it was always after he defeated them. In the show, he just takes it whenever it's most convenient. I like the way he does it though. It's like he scans the circuits and copies them somehow. They also show him doing this with other weapons, which was a nice touch. The problem is, he only uses it a few times, and never again. In the games, he keeps the weapons, and as long as they're charged, he can just use them whenever. But here, if he wants a specific weapon, I guess he's gotta wait for that Robot Master to show up in an episode. It's particularly infuriating when he gets one that's really powerful. In one episode, he gets Metal Man's power. The show should end right there. That's the most powerful weapon in the entire game series. Speaking of which, I like how badass they made some of the Robot Masters, like Metal Man, Crystal Man, and Pharaoh Man, who even after getting his power taken by Mega Man still gives him a punch. Too bad they were only in one episode each. This happened with several characters. Some were recurring while most were only seen once. That's understandable with the amount of characters from the series and the limited number of episodes to work with, but seriously, did we really need to see Bright Man so much? He was in so many episodes that he's one of the few non-main characters to get an action figure. A lot of Bright Man fans were there. Maybe they thought his voice was funny.
It's Bright Man!
Oh, that's right, gentlemen. And I'm here to light up your lives.
How do you like that, big boy? Yeah, some of the voices were kind of weird. Just listen to Ring Man.
Whoa, hot stuff. I bet it's like impossible to bust into this joint.
I'm like Metal Man, except totally lame. Also, I love this one exchange between him and Mega Man.
It's been a blast, Ring Man. Give me a ring next time you're in town.
That's so awkward and hilarious. He's got this look on his face, is like, you son of a bitch.
Not so fast, Megapunk.
Toadman.
Oh, Toadman, You're the worst, Robot Master. Some of them didn't quite fit, like Iceman. With his big goggles or glasses or whatever, I expected him to maybe sound more nerdy, but instead he sounds like a gangster's henchman.
Iceman to Dr. Wily.
This is Wily. Go ahead.
I've destroyed Mega Man.
Yeah, boss, I put him on ice! Some of the voices of the recurring characters sounded fine, at least, like Gutsman and Snake Man.
All right, you metal meddler. Get ready to join the junkie.
Say adios, Mega Dweeb.
But why did they make Cutman sound like Peter Lorre? It does weirdly fit, but it's kind of a strange choice.
I'm going to trim your life, Blue Boy. Mind if I cut in? With pleasure, Gutsman.
They make me laugh.
Oh, and here's an interesting fact for you. Did you know this show had a music CD with well-known artists contributing to it? It is quite a time capsule. One of the artists was Sugar Ray, and supposedly the lead singer, Mark McGrath, did the voice of Sparkman in the episode Cold Steel. There are also rumors that members of the band Mr. Big provided voices for this episode as well, but it's hard to tell since none of them are credited and the voices seemingly change throughout the episode.
Okay, Robo Boys.
Let's wreck and roll. I'm gonna get a real charge out of blowing you away, mega jerk.
What are you grinning at?
You missed me by a mile.
You sure about that, Sparky?
Also, why are the Robot Masters starting a hair band? This was 94, 80s metal was over, you gotta go grunge. I think they also changed up some of the powers to maybe make a bit more sense, or as much as you can with Mega Man powers. For example, Woodman's power was a bunch of leaves that circled him to form a shield. But in the show, he has this big metal leaf that he uses as a shield and as an offensive weapon. By far the most jarring change overall is to Airman. They gave him a face! In his original design, he just had 2 eyes on top of his body, essentially making the big fan in his torso his mouth. But I guess the animators wanted an actual face to work with. Or maybe they thought the original design was dumb. I don't know. As expected, there were other changes to the designs. Most notably, Mega Man looks a bit more buff than he usually does. I think this makes a little bit of sense. After all, he is called Mega Man. For some reason, he's always portrayed as a little boy child. Also, he's got all these accessories, which I find weird because going back to Mega Man 6, they could have just used the Rush upgrades. Speaking of Rush, he's about accurate with his game counterpart, but in the show, he can talk. And they basically turned him into Scooby-Doo.
Stand up and turn into a skateboard. Good boy. Hey, Roll, 1 energy biscuit for Rush.
Not so fast, Mecco Mutt.
Well, this was Ruby Spears, so I guess it makes sense. He's kind of the comic relief of the show, but thankfully it never got too annoying. Usually he gets limited to an end-of-episode gag that may or may not be funny.
Yes, sir, Mr. Doggy, sir. Right away, sir, Mr. Doggy, sir.
Something happened to Rush in that robot lab that we don't know how to fix. He picked up a bad case of robot fleas.
Who the hell would make robot fleas? How would robot fleas even work? Eddie, the little guy that brings Mega Man's power-ups, is given a little bit more personality.
Don't forget your energy cans, Mega Man!
Thanks, Eddie.
And one time, he even got to join in the fight.
Ooh, I've got a special drink on the menu for you guys.
Like I said, it's a shame Beat wasn't in the show because they were in desperate need of more good guys. The odds were kinda stacked against them. They did show a robotic enforcement team a few times, which I thought was a nice touch, but they kinda suck. Fortunately, the biggest and most welcome changes was to Roll. In the games, Roll barely had a presence. She was Dr. Light's lab assistant and was only seen a few times. But in the show, she got one hell of an upgrade. They changed her build to match Mega Man's, and she even got her own weapon of sorts. It's some kind of multi-tool on her arm, which has all kinds of tools and appliances built in. How all of that fits into her arm, I have no idea. But she uses them with deadly force to help beat the Robot Masters. Dismembering them even. She straight up puts a Lect-Man into a blender.
I think he's done.
Oh, damn! She even uses an OP vacuum cleaner. Yeah, a vacuum cleaner.
I'd say he really went to pieces.
Jeez, is that thing powered by a black hole or something? Frying pan. I guess Capcom's gonna sue PUBG now. My favorite has gotta be the toaster.
My sensors detect smoke, and where there is smoke, there is
Fire!
You know, at that point, you might as well just give her a Mega Buster like Mega Man. This version of Roll is cool. She doesn't even hesitate to put up a fight.
Feeling kinda low? You can use a facelift.
Whoa, too far, Roll. Apparently, Roll is programmed to destroy. It's a shame we never saw this version of Roll again. She would have been a great addition to the games. Also, there's a part that I think might be a shot against the original design.
I'm glad Dr. Light designed a better Robo-Maid. Now I'll have more time to concentrate on being a Robo-hero.
No offense, Roll, but I think you better stick to your housework.
Heh, nice.
Mega Man will be right back after these messages.
Mega Man!
Animation-wise, the show was kind of all over the place. A lot of episodes looked really good, but there were quite a few that looked pretty cheap, specifically in the second season. I'm guessing there were budget cuts. And I do have to mention that this show spawned quite a few internet memes. I'm sure you've all seen the parodies on YouTube.
What's with Rush? He must have a screw loose.
Gutsman!
You guessed it, Megatwerp.
And Catman here to take my cat.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend this show wasn't silly, particularly when it came to Dr. Wily's plans, like in the first episode.
My plan is going perfectly, Proto-Man. Once the airport is mine, I'll control the city.
The airport. You plan on taking over by conquering the airport. Oh no! The airport's going to be slightly more inconvenient than it normally is. Then there was that episode where he created stone robots.
Consider them your cousins, Stonebots.
Stonebots? You mean like, robots only made out of stone?
You have robots! Made of metal! Which is stronger than stone! Also, insert Rock Lord's reference here. Why has that become a running gag in a lot of my videos? Then there was when he caused all electronic devices in the city to go crazy. And I mean everything. You see, this is what happens when we insist on having all of our appliances connect to the Wi-Fi. Then there was that one time where he de-evolved all the robots into some sort of caveman-like state, which makes no sense at all. But his most brilliant plan to date has got to be when he planned to bring the moon closer to Earth so it causes disasters and he can rebuild the world.
I will create chaos, destroy everything, and after I put the moon back into its orbit with my gravitron, I'll be the only one who can rebuild the world.
You're gonna die too, idiot! Also, that's a different game. I'm beginning to think Wily isn't such a great villain. There's even an episode where Mega Man goes 30 years into the future and Wily still hasn't fully taken over the world yet.
Your robot security force will be ready for shipment any time now.
Did you hear that, Proto-Man? Operation World Domination will soon be a reality.
It's been 30 years! Mega Man wasn't in your way! What the hell have you been doing all this time? You're gonna be dead before you accomplish anything. Real talk though, this was a pretty good episode. I like stories about a hero traveling to the future and seeing what happens if the villain wins. Sometimes it's just a bad premise that ruins an episode. There's one where Dr. Light opens up a university for robots. That is, a place for robots to go to learn things. They're robots! They can just download information or get reprogrammed. They don't have to go to school. They're spared that hell. Then there was an episode where Mega Man wanted to be human, so he gets changed. Or rather, he thinks he gets changed, but not really. It's complicated. There was another episode where Wily was kidnapping people and turning them into robots.
Robots are after me! Only, they're not robots! They're humans turned into robots!
Yeah, they say robots, which would be horrifying, except it turns out they were just being hypnotized. You know, for a show about robots, they sure don't seem to understand what a robot is. And is it me, or do these robots look like the bad artwork from the cover of the first game? Alright, I put it off long enough. We need to talk about the worst episode of the series. Curse of the Lion Men. It's about a comet that passes by Earth and awakens an ancient race of muscly, anthropomorphic lion men that try to take over the world by shooting eye lasers at humans and turning them into other lion men. I assure you, the footage I'm showing you right now is from an episode of Mega Man. Hey, do you remember when Mega Man was about shooting googly-eyed robots? Can we just go back to that?
Why can't I lead the invasion?
Because I am in command! Never forget that!
Seriously, what the hell? Why does this episode even exist?
No one knows.
Also, this episode's got to have the worst animation in the series. I got a feeling nobody wanted any part of this. Also, why the hell is Starman in this episode? Usually a robot master is part of a mission based on their ability. If they have to dig, they bring Drill Man. If they're underwater, they bring Dive Man, etc. Starman was created to function in low-gravity environments. Nothing like that happens in this episode. Oh wait, is it because there's a shooting star and he's Starman? Ugh, whatever. Starman sucks anyway. Starman could use a Starman. Okay, I'm not ending things on that note. We got one more episode to talk about, and it's easily the best in the series. It's the episode with Mega Man X. When Mega Man X came out, it rocked the world. It was like the Mega Man games we all loved on steroids. And when X showed up from the future to fight alongside Mega Man, it blew everyone's mind. Some people didn't like the redesign, but I didn't really mind it. It's a shame we didn't see more characters from the X series. We only got Vile and Spark Mandrill. Important characters like Zero didn't even get a mention. But I did like how they show how much more powerful they are compared to the other robots. There's even a part where X steals one of the Robot Master's powers and supercharges it. What the hell? That's crazy! If you're a fan of the series, this is a great episode to geek out over.
I don't know if we'll ever see him again, Rush. It's good to know there's a real hero protecting the future.
I should also mention this episode has probably the funniest moment in the entire series.
You know what they say, Mega Man? No pain, no gain.
Tell me about it, Guts.
What's sad is that there was actually going to be a Mega Man X spin-off series, but it was dropped when the Mega Man cartoon was cancelled. It was cancelled because, of course, low toy sales. The figures were pretty good too, and it's a shame they're hard to find these days. But in the early 90s, the action figure market was pretty much ruled by the Ninja Turtles and Marvel. Even a well-known IP like Mega Man didn't really stand a chance.
I can't believe it. Outsmarted by a bunch of toys.
As for the show itself, well, it's kind of a mixed bag. There were a lot of episodes that weren't very good, and half the time the animation was very cheap. But for an adaptation of a video game, this show fared a lot better than most have. It follows the source material fairly close. The voice work was great to the point that I associate many of the voices with the characters to this day. There were changes made to help adapt it to a TV show. Some were odd, some were probably mistakes, but many were welcomed improvements. Most of the good episodes were from Season 1, but I think the bad episodes are ridiculous enough to find enjoyable. So bad it's good, as it were. And at least this series got a DVD release, and I like how this set looks. The package mimics the look of an old Capcom NES game. Even the discs have NES cartridges on them. Nice. Even though this show was the first proper series, of course this isn't the first time Mega Man was in a cartoon. His first appearance, sort of, was on Captain N the Game Master.
I'm afraid this isn't the same as your game, Captain N.
The least said about that version, the better. But in 1993, there was an anime OVA that marked the first time the Mega Man characters were accurately portrayed. It's about Mega Man jumping out of the game into the real world. However, the majority of the time he's with a couple of kids and he's learning about Japan, which makes this an educational show. Excuse me, but when I want to be educated by a video game character, I will stick to Mario, thank you very much. There were a few animated segments from some of the later games, with infamously bad dubbing.
You must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
But where is Dr. Wily?
When we find that meteor, we'll find Dr. Wily.
Then there was that NTWarrior.exe Starforce thing that I never got into. Let's be honest, this came out to compete with stuff like Pokemon. Or perhaps Digimon, based on the device they used in the show and was also sold in stores. Also, I can't be the only one weirded out that Mega Man and Roll were like love interests in this show, when in every other version they've been brother and sister. I know they're just robots, or in this case some kind of AI program, but still, ew. And now it looks like a new Mega Man cartoon is about to come out. So far there are only a few images, but it looks okay. Don't know when it'll premiere yet. It's going to be on Cartoon Network, so who knows. Perhaps my parallel universe self will have a look at it. But as far as this show goes, it's still pretty enjoyable. It can be ridiculous enough to laugh at, but the good episodes are awesome. If you're a fan of Mega Man, I think it's worth a watch. And that's my review of Mega Man. Join me next time when we take a look at another cartoon from the archive. Thanks for watching.
Ring Man, give me a ring next time you're in town.